Blog Talk Radio.
Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Lynda D. Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Lynda D. Brown. My guest today is author Norma Yaeger. Norma will be chatting with me about her book, Breaking Down the Walls, 50 Courageous and Successful Years. We'll be right back to chat with Norma about her book after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right. For those of you just tuning in, my guest today is author Norma Yaeger. Norma is going to be chatting with me about her book, Breaking Down the Walls, 50 Courageous and Successful Years. Norma, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lynda, and I'm happy to be here today to talk about my book, Breaking Down the Walls.
Well, we are happy to have you on the show. Your book is very important. There's still basically some struggles in the workforce when it comes to women. So before we get started chatting with about your book, let's get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in the early part of last century. Is that the last century? But in the 1930s, and I was faced with the idea that women were not expected to be in the workplace. They graduated high school, they had to get married, have their children, and unless you were a nurse or a secretary or a teacher, you really had no jobs open to you. And today, I don't know how many women realize what existed then and what they have offered to them today. Women today have bank and checking accounts. We did not. Women today can open stock brokerage accounts on their own without their husbands or anybody backing them. In my time, it was unheard of for women to even be involved in the stock market, let alone to open a brokerage house. So you have to say today there are so many opportunities for women that we did not have. You know, I was brought up in a Middle Eastern background family. I was a first generation, and we were taught that women were second-class citizens in the household. The men came first, they ate first, they got all of the privileges, and the women did not. So when you enter into the business world, you kind of expect that you wouldn't have those special things offered to you. And that's what my book is about, how I broke down the walls for women where they weren't expected to have them. All the things that I was able to do and were not easy. I mean, they were very difficult. I need to tell you a story about equal pay because you would not believe what happened.
Sure, go ahead.
I was desperate to get a job because my husband had lost his job and wasn't finding anything, and we were really going to be, starving. So I had to get a job, and I saw that there was an opening, a training class at a major brokerage firm, and I applied. Well, when they saw me, they said, oh, well, we never thought of hiring a woman before into the program, but we're giving 3-day psychological tests, see if you have an aptitude for this business, and who knows, maybe we will try to hire a woman. Well, I must have done well because they called me in and they said, we're going to hire you, but we have no idea what to pay you. We've never had a woman working for us in this field before. I said, well, what do you mean? And there are going to be 15, 20 men in the class. What are you paying them? And he said, well, they have extra expenses. They have to take care of a wife. They have families. They have travel expenses and so on. I said, well, I'm not working here for fun. I'm going to have the same expenses. I need the job. I need to work. I have to put in the same time and effort. And why shouldn't I get the same salary? And I have one extra expense that they don't have. And he said, what's that? I have to hire a wife to take care of my family. Well, he looked at me and he says, oh, my God, you certainly are going to be getting the same pay. You sold me. I'm glad we hired you. You could sell some stock, too. And so that's how breaking down the walls were for equal pay for, at least in my firm, for women that were going to come through the training program in the future. Because you have to negotiate up front. You can't be angry or nasty or just, kind of nicely negotiate for that extra pay. If I had sat there quietly and he said, well, we'll see, maybe we'll pay you half price, and I take it, then, that's not negotiating. And so that's what I kind of like to tell the ladies. Go out and negotiate your pay up front. Don't wait till after they hire you and then say, I think I should get more money.
That's right.
And you won't lose the job. You're going to accept the pay.
Well, Norma, does it surprise you that in 2015 there are still people and in their workplaces where we're still having this conversation? Because there are still companies that are paying men more to do the exact same job than they're paying women.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that there is the same problem today that existed then, and I'm trying to impress upon the ladies that they have to break down those walls for themselves. They have to negotiate their pay. They have to let them know that they're qualified. The most important thing is that you have to have the education for the job. You have to have the qualifications to do the job. You're not there as a female. You're there as an employee doing a job that is required. And if you're doing the same job that's required to somebody else, you are entitled to that pay. And you have to let them know that. Now, that doesn't mean that if they don't want to give it to you, you give up your job. I don't want that to happen. But I think that if you made yourself clear, you have at least an opportunity to make the equal pay. I'm very, very, very outspoken about this with women when I speak in front of audiences, to let them know that today you have the opportunity through the education that's out there to do any job you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me just say this, as someone who's still out in the workforce, and I know that we're still recovering from the economic collapse that we had in 2008, 2009, where there's still millions of people out of work. I'm here to tell you personally that a lot of these companies, if you come in with your list of demands and you're very qualified, you've got the education, your resume is wonderful. It shows the education and also the experience. with so many people, Norma, out of work, these companies can actually pick and choose who they want to work for them. And they can also decide what they want to pay them. And a lot of the times, it's still not a fair salary. Or when you speak in women's groups, are these types of conversations coming up?
Of course, because things were very difficult out there the last few years, and you're right, there weren't that many jobs offered, and those that were offered, they took the creme de la creme, the top of the milk, and so that's the point. You have to be the creme de la creme. Something about you has to be better. There has to be something you're offering that will get you that job. Maybe it's because you're dressed well. Maybe because you hold yourself differently. You have to have something that will appeal for them to want to give you that job. And, of course, when I say you ask for the pay, you make it, you don't argue with it. You make it that you expect to be paid. And, of course, if they offer you the job and it's for less money and you have already tried to negotiate, well, then you say, well, I'll start the job, and if you see I'm doing a good job, possibly you'll consider giving me the equal pay. So that's the negotiations that you have to do. You have to stand on your feet. I didn't say you turn down the job if they give you less pay, but impress upon them that you believe that you're worth it and do something that's a little exceptional. Let me tell you a story. When I started in the brokerage business, we had the offices on the ground floor, and we had to go through the buildings, floor by floor, to cold call because we had party lines. We didn't have telephones available the way it is today. We just couldn't make phone calls, that easily to cold call. So we had to go in person. And I was also sitting in an office with all glass windows because it was on the ground floor. We had a lot of people that walked through. My office was on Park Avenue and 50th Street across from the Waldorf Astoria. And we had, comfortable people, wealthy people, people that were interested in the stock market that could open a brokerage account. And I decided that if I sat there with all the secretaries around, in the office, why would anybody ask me if I was a stockbroker? So I put on a hat. I bought an outfit with fur trim. I had to borrow this money and do it on credit. I got a purse and shoes, and I looked like $1 million. And I put a brooch on my suit, and I became known for everybody that walked into that brokerage office as the hat and brooch lady. I was set apart from the secretaries. If I sat there looking like a secretary, no one would have approached me to do stock for them. And so That's what I'm talking about, to have some initiative to set yourself apart somehow, to make yourself different so that you are entitled to that job. And believe me, it made such a difference. I became a very successful stockbroker because I thought through what I needed to do to open these accounts, to cold call, to get in to talk to the owners of these big corporations so they didn't think, that I was selling cosmetics. I had to tell them that I was a stockbroker. They had to prove that I knew what I was doing. So going through the training program prepared me for that. Then at the rest of it, I was on my own to think up ways to be able to be different. And that's what the little bit of extra I'm telling you that you need to show when you go for a job. You're not doing the same job. You want to do something a little bit extra. Think it through. It's not easy. I'm not making this an easy situation for you, but it works. And that's what I'm trying to impress. And look at the job offerings you have today. We had none of these. You have the ability to be a firefighter, a policewoman, a dentist, a doctor. You can be delivering for FedEx and UPS. You can be an anchor woman on radio and TV. You can be a stockbroker today. You could be a stock analyst. There's so many job opportunities that were only for men in my time. And so you have to be able to say, I'm going for the education for what I want to do, and that includes women that have joined the armed forces. They're in combat roles today, and
Sure.
and they're getting equal pay. The women are getting equal pay in the armed forces. So, it's not an easy thing, and then you have to evaluate yourself. Look in the mirror. What can I do that is make me a little bit different than the next person?
Right. Well, I can honestly say in this century, a lot of the glass ceiling has been shattered with this with the new technology that we're dealing with. Computers, mobile devices. There are so many people, Norma, that I know personally, and I'm actually one of them, that to me we've kind of circumvented getting out there and putting our best foot forward, because that's something that I think that we have all been taught to do. But so we've actually started our own businesses. A lot of people have taken their expertise with this new technology, their education, and they're actually starting their own business. Does it surprise you the number of CEOs and women business owners that you're currently seeing now?
I'm not surprised. Women are capable, and if they put their mind to it, the women entrepreneurs that are out there are doing very, very well. They have availability of capital. They have the availability of going into a bank and being able to negotiate for themselves a loan. I mean, there's so much opportunity in entrepreneurship for women that they need to take their expertise and go out there and utilize it in order to make a living. It's not just a living, it's a way of life. They need to be able to decide if that's what they want to do. It's a struggle to begin with, but when you make it, it's so rewarding. There's nothing like
Absolutely. it. Now, what compelled you to write the book, Breaking Down the Walls, 50 Courageous and Successful Years?
Well, I had 3 children when I went to work. I had never thought that I was going to need to go to work, because in my time we expected the husband to take care of us. Once I had to do that, and I had the struggles that I had to go through, and I had to leave my children a great deal with sitters and help and so on, that I felt that my children needed to know a little bit more about my struggles, what I went through, how I did it, and my successes, because by the time they were adults, I was successful, very successful, and it wasn't a piece of cake. And I think that I needed to almost apologize to my children for not giving them all of me while they were growing up. When I started to write the book, I started to go into why I went to work. What was the reason I did that? That we really were going to starve. So I didn't just leave them because I didn't love them. I left them because of need. And as I went through life, struggling, doing some things that I failed at and certain things that I was very successful at, I wanted them to know and leave them a legacy and a way to conduct themselves in their lives. So this was a learning experience for my family as well as they learned about me also. It brought us closer together. And as I was publishing, yes, it did bring us together. And after I published the book and somebody else read it, said, this book has to come out for all women, not just your family. It's so important to read this book. And that's why I went ahead and published the book and took it out to and tried to conference in front of speak in front of groups, conferences, private groups, because I want to let them know what it was that we went through and what they have today, and they can be very successful if they take a bite of the apple, if you know what I mean. Fear is your worst enemy. You know that.
It is. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now, Norma, you have 3 children. Any girls in that 3? How many girls?
I have 3 girls and 2 boys.
Oh, okay. So, very important that you showed your daughters that there was a world out there where they could go out there and accomplish whatever it is that they wanted to do without being hindered, so to speak, by their sex. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, my one daughter is a CFO of a major nonprofit corporation, and the other one is a cooking expert. So she's involved in food. She's involved in doing food. She's thinking of writing a book about the Middle Eastern food, which we were brought up on. So she's looking forward to doing a book herself. And this is encouraging to families and to women in particular. That they can do anything they want to do. Just don't be afraid of failure, because so what if you fail? It only teaches you something, what not to do the next time.
Exactly.
Failure is not the worst thing in the world, and that's what most people are afraid of, so they don't start. So they've already failed before they started. So you really need to start. That's the first step of a long distance. You must take that first step and start. Think about what you want to do and take that step. One of the most important things I taught in this book is how to deal and balance between family and career.
Okay.
That was one of the most difficult things to learn. As you're raising your children, you now have a business or a career, and you have a family. What do? And a husband. Most of the time you have a husband around. So what I tried to do was plan for my day. Make a plan. Know that I need to arrange for family, almost like a budget, for time for my family, time for my career, time for my husband. And that was something I learned, to create a time budget, not only a financial budget, but a time budget. We need to be interested in the other members of the family and their needs, their sports, their career goals, and so on. So the most important activity I had in my home at night was that all the children and the family have to sit together and talk about their day, so that we are open. Conversation is so important. Today, everybody's with a cell phone and they're with their their laptops or whatever, and they don't talk to each other.
That's right. That's right.
Terrible. You must communicate. So when you sit down, everybody tells you a little bit of their needs and their day. They respect yours also, because once you tell them you're having a difficult day or a great day or whatever, or that you're planning a vacation, where does your family want to go? Don't just plan it by yourself. You need to do it with the whole family. So that's why I say that communication is so important.
Right.
And if your
I agree with that. Yeah. And actually, Norma, that time budget, that's a book within itself. That is such an issue with so many women in the workplace and women starting their own business. Families, unfortunately, are beginning to fall by the wayside. So that is a book all by itself. And again, I just really commend you for knowing that way back then, that how important it was to, and I love the term that you use, time budget. Just like you have a financial budget, you need a time budget. You need to make sure that you are not neglecting your family in order to get where it is that you want to be in the financial or the business world. Now, let me ask you a question, because we're down to about 6 minutes on the show. So you came in, you very bravely went out and got a job. They hired you. How long did you stay at that brokerage before you moved on?
I was with my firm 14 years. Within that time, I was there 10 years when I moved to California. I met my second husband, and I moved to California, and so I stayed within the same firm. They moved me to their California office, and I was with them 14 years before I left the firm. And then I opened my own brokerage firm, and I opened a second brokerage firm, and I took advantage of the affirmative action, which is something we need to talk about, but possibly in another interview.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they don't realize that affirmative action is just not for minorities, but also for women. And a lot of women have used that platform to jumpstart and get started with their own business. So absolutely, that's something that needs to be talked about. Now, tell us about what you'd like to offer to our listening audience.
Well, I'd like to offer to the next 5 people that call in to you or email you a free book if they take the time to read it, and also go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble and give me a sign in and give a result about what the book is all about and if they enjoyed it. I think they have the ability to do that on Amazon. And,
Absolutely.
And if they send you their address, I'll be happy to send them a free book.
Wow. Well, sounds great. So let's just reiterate those for my listening audience. The book is called Breaking Down the Walls, 50 Courageous and Successful Years at the Forefront of the Women's Movement. The author, again, is Norma Yaeger, and she spells that Yaeger, and it's available in the Kindle format for $9.99 and the paperback for $12.53. Since this is not a call-in show where we take other callers, I did that platform, wasn't real thrilled with it. If you send me an email to the authorchatshow@gmail.com, the first 5 people, or if you go on Amazon and purchase maybe the Kindle book or the ebook or the paperback book, and write a review of Norma's book, send me an email at the authorchatshow@gmail.com. I will forward your name, address, and information to Norma, and she will send you out a free copy of the book. I think that's a great way to get the book out there. I will also be posting that information on the Author Chat Facebook fan page. So thank you so much for offering that to our listening audience. I think that's a great way
Thank you, Lynda.
to get that book out there.
And you could
now, Norma, go ahead, sweetheart.
I have a website, normayaeger.com. Again, spell Yaeger properly, and you would be able to learn more about me and the book.
And you just beat me to it. So again, how can our listeners connect with you online? Give us the website again, please.
normayaeger.com.
And we're spelling Yaeger, Yaeger. And are you also on Facebook and Twitter, any social media sites?
I'm on all of them, of course. Of course.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
all right. So
yeah.
that information should show on your on your website. And Norma, you are in the California area. Do you have any book signings or events coming up where someone can come out and actually meet you in person?
I don't have any book signs at this particular time because we're getting into the very, very hot summer, and most people are not going out. We're 100 degrees here today, and no water, you know. We have a drought.
Oh,
right.
right.
Drought. So I'm not doing
what
book
part
signings.
Right. What part of California are you in, sweetie?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I have a younger sister out there. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So we're having our problems out here. So, but I am going to be at a conference in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, and I will probably be given an international award for a very successful, over $1 million business. And so I am one of the candidates for the award, and I'm looking forward to speaking at that conference. And that's international. So
and
that's exciting.
When did you? Okay, absolutely. And we're down to 90 seconds. When did you retire? Did you sell your business? How did you transition from? Okay, tell us about that real quickly.
I sold my business to a gal that was very, very qualified. She was a somebody that has been in the business many, many years. She was a female, and she was able to pick up where I left off, especially in the affirmative action. She was a female in the business and able to be one of the minorities, considered a minority. And,
sure.
And I sold the business in 1998, traveled the world with my new husband, and lived a wonderful life. And then I decided to write this book for others so they could also accomplish for themselves.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you, this new generation of women business owners, for breaking that barrier, that glass ceiling, and just letting us know that it is doable. Again, this book is actually still on Amazon's bestsellers list. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. It looks like it was published in 2013. It is in the Kindle store under the Amazon's bestsellers rank. And it's also available on Amazon's bestsellers rank in the paperback book. So, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, Norma, and sharing your story and your book with us. Again, we'll mention again after I let you go about your free book giveaway. And as soon as we get some people to go online, order a copy of your book, and then I'll send you the information. They write a review, and we'll send them out a free copy. That is wonderful, wonderful way to get your book out there and into the hands of readers.
Thank you, Lynda. It was my pleasure speaking to you and your audience today. I hope I was helpful.
Oh, you were more than helpful. Again, just that time budget, like I said, if you've got another book in you, I think that would be the one to write. How to budget your time when you're running a business. There's so many people that are still struggling with that.
Of course. Then you have to give time to all of the people that are important to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And, again, thank you so much for coming on the Author Chat Show, sweetheart. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so, again, that was author Norma, Norma Yaeger. And Norma's book is Breaking Down the Wall, 50 Courageous Years. Let me pull it back up real quick here. 50 Courageous and Successful Years at the Forefront of the Women's Movement. Again, the book is available on Amazon in the Kindle format and paperback format, and I'm sure other online major retailers. So if you're interested in getting a free copy, I will have that information on the Author Chat Facebook page tomorrow. I have an event that I'm going to this evening, so I know that I'm not going to have time to take care of that today. But we will see you back here tomorrow. We have another guest coming on the show tomorrow on our Sunday edition of the Author Chat Show. And I've got my calendar right here in front of me. I will be, you know what? I'm sorry. I will be speaking with Erica Fry, AfricaForGod.org. She's going to be coming on the show to chat with us about her adventures as a missionary in Africa. For those fathers out there, tomorrow is Father's Day. Unfortunately, my father is no longer with us, but I would like to give a shout-out to my son, who is a dad, and to all of my listeners who are fathers. Happy Father's Day tomorrow. If you do happen to miss the show because you're spending time with family and friends, I understand that. Just make sure you listen to the on-demand episode later in the week. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we will see you tomorrow on the Author Chat Show. Goodbye.